The Holly King and the Oak King. Pagans and non-pagans alike show reverence towards the changing of the seasons. In fact, this phenomenon has made it into our lore. It manifested into a legend of two kings fighting for their reign over the year. The two monarchs are known today as the Holly King and the Oak King. Most Wiccans recognize the role of the triple goddess in the changing of the seasons, but the story of the Holly King and the Oak King is lesser known. In this video, you will learn who these two kings are and how their legend lives on in modern Wicca. The Holly King and the Oak King in Wicca. Many Wiccans view the changing of the seasons through the lens of the triple goddess, also known as the moon goddess. Maiden in the spring and early summer when nature is fertile, a time of rebirth. Mother from the summer through the harvest season when nature bears fruit. Finally, crone during the late fall and winter, when nature experiences death and decay before starting all over again in the spring. The role of the Holly King and the Oak King is less talked about. The Oak King's rule starts at the spring equinox, Ostra, lasts through the height of his power at the summer solstice, Letha, and ends with the changing of the guard at the autumn equinox, Mabon. The Holly King then takes over and rules through the height of his power at the winter solstice, Yule, until rule changes once again at the spring equinox. Many see the two kings as the duality of the horned god, also known as the sun god. The journey of the goddess and the god happen in unison throughout the year. Each plays a vital role in the wheel of the year. The legends of the two kings. The darkness and the light. Long ago there were two kings. Some say they were twins, others that they were just brothers. No matter their ages, they were as different from one another as day is from night. One of the brothers was the Holly King, who wore a crown of evergreen leaves around his forehead. His domain was the cold, the ending, and the dark. The Oak King, his brother, bore a wreath of oak leaves as a crown. His domain was the light, the warmth, and the plentiful plants. The brothers did not get along. Namely, each of them had their own idea on how to rule the realm. The Oak King wanted daylight and heat to rule over the world. On the other hand, the Holly King preferred the night, the cold, and the absence of regular plants. It didn't help that both men loved the same woman, the moon. Each eager to please her in their own ways. Whatever the case may have been, the battle between them was inevitable. The battle. Records of the battle between the two kings vary from culture to culture, but the most commonly accepted version is as follows. Before the brothers raised their arms against one another, the lady they both loved tried to call for a truce. She told both brothers that the best solution is for them to divide the duties. Half of a year would belong to the Oak King, and the other to the Holly King. However, the two brothers were far too discordant to agree to anything. Thus, the Oak King and the Holly King drew their swords and fought. On that day, there was an equal amount of day and light. The battle ended with the Holly King striking a mortal blow to the Oak King, with the Lord of Light and Warmth falling in blood. Instantly, the Holly King regretted slaying his brother, and the lady took the body away. "Now you must rule," she said, "the whole of the land is yours." The aftermath. With the Holly King in power, the days were short and the nights long, while the cold slowly overtook the land. Though he had won, the monarch mourned his brother. He could think of nothing else but the fallen king he had slain. It appeared as if the sun would never rise again, which threw the Holly King into despair. But then, the lady came back to him, and she shared the news that would surprise the Holly King. "Your brother is not dead, Your Grace," she said. "The Oak King lives, and he has come to take his turn in ruling the land." And true to her word, there before the Holly King stood his brother. However, he was not the aged warrior that he had faced before. Instead, he was young, virile, and full of energy. He had come to claim the land, and the Holly King, overjoyed, gladly stepped down from his throne. When the Oak King took over, the days were long and the nights short. The sun shone bright again, and the plants slowly came back to life. Animals awoke from their slumber, men across the land would see warm days return, and nature was blooming anew. From that day onward, each of the two kings ruled one half of the realm as it was originally intended. Parallels with other traditions. The tale of the Oak King and the Holly King is an archetypal element we find in many cultures. It represents the changing of the seasons, the circle of life and renewal that repeats itself every single year. Sometimes, the duality is seen as the battle between the light and the darkness, other times, it's the cold versus warmth. Some see the battle taking place at the equinoxes, and others at the solstices. Some view it as a simple change in rule, and others see one king dying in old age while the other is reborn. Most often, it's a general theme of the summertime and the wintertime swapping out. Other mythologies, such as Celtic and Hindu, saw variations in the story of the two kings. Possibly the most famous example we have in medieval Europe is the tale of Sir Gawain and the Green Knight. Others include the Celtic entities Lef of Tuatha De Danann and Balor of the Fomorians, as well as Gwyn ap Nudd and Gwithyr ap Gradal of Welsh legends. The two kings as aspects of the horned god. A large subsection of the Wiccan teachings doesn't see the Holly King and the Oak King as separate beings. Instead, those practitioners view them as aspects of one deity, known as the horned god or the sun god. This archetype is usually depicted with big horns or antlers. The horned god goes by many names, including the Green Man and the King of the Wildwood. Normally, we associate it with a wide variety of horned deities like Pan and Cernunnos. The horned god is commonly confused with Satan by outsiders, and is part of the reason Wiccans have a reputation as devil worshippers. The horned god's nature is inherently dualistic, with him representing both night and day. As such, the shifting between these two aspects can be seen as the Holly King and the Oak King slowly swapping places, with one taking dominance over the other depending on the season. The moon goddess and the horned god. Wicca is the only duotheistic religion where both a female goddess and male god are worshipped as a couple. Each plays an integral role in the cycles of nature. The life cycle of the triple goddess represents the phases of the moon and the earth. The life cycle of the horned god represents the seasons of the sun. Both combine in harmony to rule over our world together. The two kings summarized. Be it Yule or Letha, Wiccans can be sure that an aspect of the horned god will be strongest during either the summer or the winter solstice. Whether we see them as aspects of one deity or as separate gods, we ought to hold the Holly King and the Oak King in high regard. After all, it is through their reign that the nature itself is shaped, put to sleep, and awoken anew every single year.